Hey guys, what's going on? This is Pants Art Dragon, and today we'll be doing the patch 5.16 rundown of the changes. Okay, so for starters, I did previous work on basically this patch, so you guys should check out the links right up here, and here. Those videos will be covering the Juggernaut reworks and an analysis of the defensive items. Why did I do separate videos? Well, this patch rundown would honestly be 2 hours. Do you really want to watch me break down a patch for you for 2 hours? Fuck no, not even I would want to watch that. So in this rundown, we'll be just going over the champion changes. First off is going to be Ahri. So little sustain nerfs coming to her passive. The healing only scales at levels 1, 6, 11, and 16, and it doesn't go up to 20 anymore, but the real impact is in the early game. Let's do a comparison. At level 6, it used to be 8 hit point per level. Now it's 5. Holy crap, that's actually kind of big. But it's not her damage, it's just healing. So make that up with some pots and you're good to go. Next up, we're going to be going over Alistar. So hit point per level is being increased while W travel time is being decreased to 1200. I wonder if enemies can react faster to Alistar because of this, but I do know it's mainly for latency issues and of course people with low ping who input the combo too fast. So I think it's just more of a quality of life change. But while we're at it, other supports also get the hit point per level base stats buffs, and that will be Alistar, Bard, and Thresh all gaining the same amount. So I think you get like 72 more hit point at level 18, but it's whatever. And again, while we're at it, we do the armor per level base stat buffs, and who's receiving it. So Amumu, Blitzcrank, Braum, Nautilus, Leona, Rammus, Tahm Kench, and Taric are all receiving this buff. They all gain 9 armor at level 18. Now, what they said was they want to buff low-income tanks, so they're just giving them some free stats. But I'm surprised not to see champions like Dr. Mundo, Malphite, Nasus. I think you guys get the idea. But again, it's just a rather small buff, so whatever. Finally, a change I actually care about. So Elise is getting a nerf on her Q damage where it's 4% instead of 8%, and it does look like a big nerf from afar. But I don't think it's going to make her not viable because of all the buffs she received previously. Especially that cocoon buff, that was really good. But with the magic resist items being buffed this patch, and AD champions being indirectly buffed by the nerfs of the armor items, she gets a little bit of a hit. But again, this nerf isn't as big as you think it is. Her spiderlings still do magic damage, and her cocoon is still 1.6 seconds at level 1. Will she be in the top 5 junglers? I think so. This nerf doesn't do too much, so yeah, she's in the clear. Next up, we have Kassadin. So he gets a new effect onto his R. They're adding an AP ratio, and you know Kassadin can spam his R pretty fast at high ranks and of course even low ranks. So this change will definitely be very interesting. Although for solo queue, I don't know if he'll be a top 5 mid though. It's not too big of an AP ratio, plus you gotta use it a bit if you want a big AP ratio. And usually you probably won't be warping onto people, it's more of utility skill. But in small skirmishes, obviously, he can probably warp on people and deal a bit more damage. Next up, we'll be talking about Kayle. So Kayle is actually a really good champion in the lower elo, definitely stomps a lot since her damage output is extremely high. In higher elo, there's definitely better junglers than her. So every 5 autos, you lose 25 AD. It's not too big of a deal, is it? Nah, probably not, but because of this nerf, me personally, I probably won't use her in my elo. Just because I don't like Nurse and she's an average jungler to me when I play her in Master and Challenger. Next up is going to be LeBlanc. So previously the missile speed was 1300 and before that it was 1600. Now it's going to be 1450. Interesting, but you gotta remember the missile width of her E was reduced by 15. And that may have caused less consistency with LeBlanc, and maybe what made her win rate plummet so low. And because of that, I'm not 100% sure if this will put her back into the meta. Probably not, in my opinion. She's probably going to need one more buff and then she'll be good. Next up, we'll be talking about Lee Sin. What the fuck? Holy fuck, they're giving Lee Sin buffs? Alright, so he's indirectly already being buffed because of the armor items getting a nerf. And now he gets buffs on top of that. So he gains 20 energy on the first hit while receiving 10 energy on the second hit. And that's really good since sometimes you won't actually get that second hit in team fights or whatever. So you might probably gain 15 or 20 more energy in an instance. And this new effect where if you knock back an enemy into an enemy with your ultimate, it deals damage based on the percent bonus health of the target that you knock back. But it's really good as a peeling tool now to kick back those tanks into your enemy team. Rush now is going to be even more of a god. Also, this buff actually sucks for me because I cannot play Lee Sin in a high elo match. And I refuse to just because I can't play him at that level. So I'm a bit screwed, but thankfully I can play other champs. Yay! The only thing I wonder is how much of an impact this buff will have in the lower elos. And then checking the win rate, how much it goes up by. But yeah, there's more emphasis on peeling with Lee Sin's ultimate now. Next up, we'll be talking about Lissandra. So now whenever Lissandra casts Frozen Tomb on herself, she heals for a certain amount, plus 0.3 ability power, plus 1% per 1% of her missing health. I'll be honest here, I'm a bit confused with the wording of this tooltip, but generally she's going to heal a lot more when she's missing a lot of health. So you use it when you're about to die, and yeah, it's a nice buff. It's interesting to see where she will be at after those Q nerfs and if people will start using her again. But you have to think about it, most of the time she's going to be using her R onto the enemy to, catch someone or initiate. So it's a certain situation buff. Next up, we'll be talking about Lucian. So his passive now always does 100% damage to minions, woohoo, I guess it's better for last hitting. This second buff is interesting since it does buff his late game a bit, and of course his power spikes are a bit earlier. But the big buffs are coming to his W, which will be pretty interesting. So the movement speed at all levels is being increased by 20, duration is now 1 second, but that's to compensate for the buff where now his teammates can trigger this movement speed buff. The mana is also less than 10, and I am completely unsure if people will start maxing out W because of this buff. People like to max out E second, but honestly with 80 movement speed, that's a lot you can use to kite with. I think a smart idea would be like maybe put 2 or 3 points into E and then start maxing out W, just to reduce the mana cost of his E. But yeah, these buffs are definitely going to put him into an interesting spot, although I'm not 100% sure if he'll be in the top 5. Next up, we'll be talking about Nami. I have no idea why people just stopped playing all of a sudden, but with her passive being increased to 60 and her ultimate doubling the passive if it does hit her allies, oh man, oh boy, that's like giving your team Olaf ultimate where he gains movement speed. Actually, it might be more powerful since you're giving your team or someone 120 movement speed. And so you're definitely going to see a lot of people start playing her because of these buffs, for sure, and she might be coming back into the meta. Actually, she probably will be in the meta. Next up is going to be Rammus, and he's getting 10 plus more damage on each rank of his W. And it's a decent buff, it helps his jungle clears, but the mobility nerf of his Q, like a few patches ago, definitely hurt him a bit. And it's only 10 damage, just a little minor buff, so nothing to see here. Next up, we'll be talking about Rumble. Cooldown goes down, so less all-ins in the early game. Although I'm pretty surprised to see that his ultimate at levels 11 and 16 is at a high cooldown still. This probably has to do something with the Liandry's buff and how it made him indirectly powerful. But with these cooldown nerfs in between teamfights where he doesn't have it up, there's going to be a bigger time window where the enemy can teamfight you more often, since Rumble's ultimate may be down. And now it starts 150 units closer to your cursor, which is a nerf to its maximum range, but I'm pretty sure if you do a max range R, it's like 3000 units, so it's not a big deal. Next up, Tahm Kench is getting some quality of life buffs and a buff to his ultimate. Alright, so this thing where W now prioritizes champions over minions, thank God, because I could never target a champion. Sometimes a minion would be in the way and I get super confused and thought I sucked, but apparently everyone had problems with this. And now when you spit shit out, it's stunned for 0.25 seconds, so a bit more CC. Also, the enemy warning particle spawns 1 second later, so this is actually really good. As I'm pretty sure Tahm Kench's warning particle lasts for like 3 seconds, so it's very easy to react to. And you had to do it like way behind the enemy and flank them, but now you can be a bit closer to them. But I still think he's not that great of a champion, but he's pretty fun. Next up, a bug fix for Teemo's passive, and they reverted the changes on his R where the slow decays and where it stopped revealing the enemy. I still think the nerf to his shrooms being 5 minutes less is still a big nerf compared to what he got back, and he doesn't have as much map control as he used to, so it kinda sucks. Next up is Twitch, Q costs less mana, and now his ultimate scales with 10 damage per level instead of 8. Really minor buff, still going to be a low class tier marksman. I think he just needs a bit more base damage and he should be good to go. Next up, Viktor's Hex Core is being nerfed at every stage. So basically what's happening is the ability power per level is going down, but once you get the Super Hex Core, it's more. And the original Hex Core also gives mana per level now. So Viktor's early game and mid game are getting a nerf. And because of these nerfs coming to the Hex Core, I theorize he's only going to get one upgrade into his Hex Core, unless he's high level or I'm just not valuing the Q augment a lot. But yeah, definitely a nerf to Viktor. He scaled really well with levels, and if he was behind just a bit, he'd still do a lot of damage, but now that's taken away a bit with the ability power nerfs. Either way, I still think he's going to be a very good mid. I just feel like people are going to prioritize other items now. Next up, Vel'Koz is getting a buff to his Q. Basically, his Q spreads out wider, so in a sense, his Q poke is going to be much more greater, as if you shoot it diagonally, it gets more range, and now he can reactivate it a bit quicker, which is great for against melee champs. Probably not going to make him like super top tier, but again, Leandre's Torment did get buffed, which indirectly buffs this guy, but I don't know, I just feel like there are better mids right now. Oh, and supports for that matter. Next up is going to be Volibear, and he gains a new effect where once he activates his R, it damages enemies in front of him and, basically procs his on-head effect from the ultimate. It'd be cool if they added like an actual cooler effect, like, I don't know, burst damage or some kind of CC, but it's just a cosmetic improvement and it's only one proc, so it's not that great of a buff. Next up, Zack's range on his E is being improved at all levels and gets way larger when you're at the max rank. This of course means longer initiations, is that it doesn't seem like the cast animation is being, increased. So it might be a very fast animation and make it hard for the enemies to react, but that is just a theory and I'm not sure, but this will definitely help him get those initiations off from the Fog of War. In my opinion, I do think he's actually a pretty decent champion, as I did put him in the top 10 tier list, but a lot of people weren't playing him and he was really unpopular. I don't think he'll be top 5 jungler, but maybe he'll be back in the top 10 because of that. And last but not least, we'll be talking about Zed. The reactivation time on his R is being reduced to 0.5 seconds instead of 1, and he is also indirectly buffed because the armor items are being nerfed. So I can definitely see him coming back into this meta. Yeah, I can say that pretty confidently. He might be like top 5 mids again, maybe, or honorable mentions. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my analysis of the patch. I know it is like 1/5 of the patch, but there are in other videos and you can check them out right at the beginning of this video because there's a lot of annotations. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I am Panther Dragon and I'll see you guys next time. Come on, Jeremy, get in my mouth. Come in my mouth. Come in my mouth.
Come on.
You have to learn it.
I have to.
It's okay, Lily.
Just listen to it out of context.
All I hear is come in my mouth. Come on. It's so funny.